going to show you how to make the Garter Stockinette baby hat, and I'm going to be using the X loom, but you can use any loom that is 60 or 68 pegs. I'm going to be using 64 stitches, and that's going to be approximately 16 pegs for each prong. But you can use a regular loom for this. It's just when you get to the crown, you'll need to do a fine gauge drawstring bind off. So I will make sure I get you a link below the video in the info box so that you have that. At this point, you can do this on a larger gauge if you want to do an adult size hat. You can do it on a 1/2 inch gauge. And that'll work out just fine. You may need to add a few more rows on the stockinette part of your hat. So I'm going to be using a DK weight. I'm going to be doing a double wrap cast on, but you can do any cast on of your preference. This is not a big deal, so I'm just going to do a double wrap cast on all the way around, and then we will get started on our garter stitch. So go ahead and pause the video and get your cast on done, and then I'll be ready to start showing you how to do the garter stitch for the brim. Okay. Alright, I've finished my cast on, and now I want to do a flat knit all the way around. And a garter stitch is a 2-row set, and your first row of the set is a knit row, and the second row of the set is a purl row. So this is your knit row, and you're going to repeat this 2-row set for approximately 10 rows. So go ahead and pause the video and complete your row of knit, and then we'll start on our second row. Okay, we've completed our row of knit, and now what we want to do is purl a row, and this is our second row, part of the repeat for a garter stitch. So keep that in mind. It's knit a row, purl a row for 10 rows, right? And that's your garter stitch. So you're going to do that for a total of 10 rows. So go ahead and pause the video and get your garter stitch brim done, and then we'll be ready to change colors and start on our stockinette section of the hat. And keep in mind, you can do this on a regular loom. You do not have to do this on an X loom. We've completed our garter stitch brim, and now we're ready to start the stockinette stitch. And I'm going to do the magic knot to change colors. If there's a preferred way that you like to change colors, you can do that at this point. I will include a link below to my video breakdown of how to change colors, but I always like to do the magic knot for my changing of colors. Now you can keep the same color if you would prefer. If you're doing this hat, you don't have to change colors. This is part of a baby set, and I will also include the link to the 4 at a time, which includes the mittens and the booties, but you can do those on a regular loom as well. You'll just need 28 pegs, and you can use a universal loom for that if you'd like. So I'll also include that because this is part of a baby set. So I'll include the link below the video in the info box. Alright, at this point, now you want to knit all the way around for approximately 15 to 20 rows. You want to knit for approximately 15 to 20 rows, and then you'll get to your crown. Now if you're doing the fine gauge drawstring bind off, you'll definitely want to knit for 20 rows. If you're doing the crown that I'm going to show in this video, then you'll want to do a total of 15 rows. Okay. So go ahead and pause the video and complete your stockinette rows, and when we come back, I will explain how to do the crown. And after you do your stockinette rows, if you're working on a regular loom, you'll just want to do the fine gauge drawstring bind off. You want to go to that link in the info box below. Okay, pause the video, get that much done. Okay, we've completed our stockinette stitch, as you can see, and we're ready to do our crown. Again, if you're doing a regular loom, you'll need to switch videos and go and learn how to do a fine gauge drawstring bind off. If you're doing this version, then you want to do a wedge decrease row where you shove the wedges down by one slot. So you just shove your wedges down by one slot on all 4 wedges, and this is a 2-row repeat, and this is your first row of the 2-row repeat. So go ahead and move those stitches down to your decrease, your wedges, okay, your wedges, and that'll include your decrease, so that when you go in and knit around, you'll knit those 2 stitches. So go ahead and move those stragglers down to the wedge pegs on all 4 prongs, and then we'll be ready to knit the row. Okay, and this is not difficult. We're wanting to get ourselves down from 64 to approximately 24 pegs. Okay, at this point you want to start knitting your way around, and you're going to knit the 2 stitches over on your decrease pegs, and I will show you that much so that you know what you're doing on the decrease rows. But when you go in and you move the wedges down and you move those stitches onto the wedge pegs, then you're going to knit both loops together. Alright, so you'll want to go ahead and pause the video and complete this row, and then I'll come back and show you how to go about doing your second row on this repeat. Okay, again, this is the wedge decrease row, and then your next row will be just a knit, and you're going to repeat that over and over again until you're down to 24 stitches left, and then we'll be doing a drawstring bind off. Okay, at this point we're done with our wedge decrease row, and now what we want to do is just knit around, doing nothing special, just knit around. And this is the second row of your 2-row repeat, and you will repeat this over and over until you have 24 stitches and are ready to do a drawstring bind off. But again, you'll need to repeat this over and over again. Wedge decrease a row, knit a row, wedge decrease a row, knit a row, until you're down to 24 pegs. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video and complete that section of the 2-row repeat until you're down to 24 stitches, and then we'll be going in and showing you how to do a drawstring bind off so that you can finish up the hat. Okay. Okay, it's actually time to finish this up. I've already cut me a long tail, and I'm ready to do my drawstring bind off. And what I want to do is I want to skip my first peg here, go to my next, toss the bottom loop over, and pull the tail through. Skip the next peg, toss the next peg over, pull the tail through, skip, toss the next stitch over, pull the tail through, skip, toss over, pull the tail through. You'll notice that I'm doing every other peg, okay? So every other peg is being tossed over, okay? And then I will toss every other, then I will toss over the last stitches that are left, okay? You're going to go in and you're going to toss every other peg over and pull the tail through. Alright, we've reached our beginning, and instead of tossing that loop over, we're going to skip that first peg again, go to the next one, and we're going to be tossing the rest of the stitches over, and our starting peg should end up being our last stitch we toss over, okay? Okay, we've reached our last one. Toss it over, pull through, pull the garment out. Now, what you want to do is, this is your last stitch, this is your first one that you started tossing over. What you're going to do is you're going to pull that first. You see that string you're going to pull? Sorry, let me make sure this is in camera. Okay. So what you're doing is you're going to find where your last one is, and this is the one above it. So you see these two, your first and last stitch, and you see this strand above, you're going to pull it. So you're going to pull it first, which is your inner stitches, then you're going to pull your tail, and that closes it off, as you can see. Okay. It should give you a nice, smooth, flat edge. Okay. And then you take a needle and you send it through. You weave your ends in. And this is your garter stitch brim stockinette baby hat, and that is how you make it on the X-Loom. You can do an adult size one. You just keep on going a little further on your rows here, and then when you get ready to do the crown, you'll do that, and you can do the same thing on the half-inch gauge and that kind of thing. You could probably stick with the same rows. It's going to change up a bit when you start changing your gauges, okay? But you can also do this on a regular loom, but you can use the fine gauge drawstring bind off, but instead you'll want to do 4 or 6 more rows, and then do the fine gauge drawstring bind off, okay? So if you don't have the X-Loom and you want to do this, you can do this on the regular loom and just do a fine gauge drawstring bind off, but you're going to do anywhere between 4 and 6 more rows than what I stated in this video. Okay.